soon. Yeah. And one thing that I won't do is play games with, the way the world is. I never told her about Santa Claus, and I never told her about the Easter Bunny and all of that kind of stuff. And I took a lot of heat from people. I didn't care, but I took a lot of heat from people because, we live in a world where we ain't playing.
Right.
Things is serious. Like it's more serious than it was when we was coming up. And I'm sure it was more serious when our parents was coming up. Yeah. And so we have to be mindful of certain things that other people in other cultures don't have to be mindful of. I remember getting the talk, and I wonder, do white kids get the talk? I'm sure they get a talk, but do they get the talk that we get?
No, absolutely not.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I find myself in conversations, with, shall we say, black sympathetic white people. These would be the white people 50 years ago that would get lynched with us. Yeah. Those people today, and some of them get in their feelings because they like hip hop and they grew up with black folk and they think that they understand what you go through, but they don't. And when you try to explain certain things, they get mad at you and want to call you the bigot. Like, and reverse racism. Like, how you going to have something reverse if it wasn't already there to begin with? You know what I'm saying? And so when I look at this clip and I look at Carlton, on the one side, I'm like, it's cool. Every parent wants to do well by their children. But the unfortunate reality is sometimes you do so well by your children that they lose where they come from and what their actual experience is.
That's right.
And that's what I got from Carlton.
Okay. I know this show came out, 90?
1990. 90 to 96.
Okay. Play the next clip. This is 2016.
2016. I watched this episode not too long ago.
Blackish.
Yeah. It's important in the midst of all the public vilifying of the police department, whose members acted completely within procedure, to remember Mr. McQuillan was no angel.
What?
What does that mean?
Why would they even say that? What does that even mean?
They're talking about somebody's child. That could easily be one of these children here.
That could have been one of us.
No, yes. Sweetie, no. Because if you get stopped by the cops, you are going to do exactly what they say, okay?
She's right. Listen to me. If you have to talk to the cops, there's only 7 words you need to know. Yes, sir. No, sir. And thank you, sir.
Exactly. You make sure you live to fight your case in court. You hear me?
Oh, Mama! Enough! Wake up! Let's say they listen to the cops and get in the car. Look what happened to Freddie Gray.
Yeah, and what if they make it all the way to the station? Mm-hmm. You remember Sandra Bland?
And let's say they do make it to trial. Mm-hmm. You see where that gets us? Don't you get it, Bo? The system is rigged against us.
Maybe it is, Dre. But I don't want to feel like my kids are living in a world that is so flawed that they can't have any hope.
Oh, so you want to talk about hope, Bo? Obama ran on hope. Remember when he got elected? And we felt like maybe, just maybe, we got out of that bad place and made it to a good place. That the whole country was really ready to turn the corner. You remember that amazing feeling we had during the inauguration? I was sitting right next to you. And we were so proud. And we saw him get out of that limo and walk alongside of it and wave to that crowd. Tell me you weren't terrified when you saw that. Tell me you weren't worried that someone was going to snatch that hope away from us like they always do. That is the real world, Bo. And our children need to know that that's the world that they live in. Come on. Let's finish watching it. Let's see what they're gonna say next.
Now, that's, to me, with them two clips, that's like 20-something years apart.
25.
And it's still, 25. And it's still going on, Joe.
I mean, it's relevant. It will always be relevant until a change is truly made. And a change can't be made until, once again, we go back and we initiate a change and we stop doing things to ourselves. I mean, it's funny how you sit there and say stuff. But we allow a lot of stuff to happen. And I'm sorry, people are going to disagree with what I say, but we allow a lot of things to happen. We do. And we make excuses. We make light of. We make it funny. You know, we comedianize a lot of stuff that we should demoralize, that we should take out.
There's definitely you get no backlash on that because that's absolutely the truth. And we do it to ourselves every day when we walk around with the N-word. We do it to ourselves every day. Yep. We make it last one freaking day longer every time we do it. It's never going to go away. She sugarcoated what her kids should do. That's a no, mommy. And when you keep doing stuff like that and kids are out doing what they're doing now, it's never going to go away. And in another 50 years, we'll be playing another clip.
You know, just one more quick point. I didn't mean to cut you off, Tony, but you know what? It's funny. I was around a group of youth this weekend, and it's two sides to that coin as well, because you have that clown group of youth who, yeah, shorty, yeah, it is, yeah, that, nah, this, I'm going to do that, blah, blah, blah. But then you have that other group that's so scared and taught to be scared. You can make a comedian joke out. You put blackface on here, and then you comedianize
like
it
a Band-Aid
over
until
here,
we get out of it.
And then you get people in the middle who get caught. And I say Trayvon got caught in the middle of it. You know, I mean, just some of the things that we sit there and do. It's never going to be right. Like I said, well, I take that back. I can't say it's never going to be right because never is a long, long time.
It may not be in our lifetime.
Well, you know what? But how many lifetimes does it have to continue to be?
Let's hope that, the kids will stop and start paying attention because we're going to be gone soon. I
mean, we made that point. I've never sit there, and Marcus J. can attest to this, I've never sugarcoated anything for my children. A lot of times parents sit there and they do the one thing. I grew up listening to NWA. My kids can tell you NWA back, forward, side to side. Now, did I allow them to sit there and curse? No, but I didn't take away from them what they were able to hear and understand. Because you need to make sure you listen to what they said. A lot of people want to sit there and say, oh, they were so bad. But they talked about what they saw. They were poets in what they did. Now, you can take away, in every bad thing, you can take away something good. You know, and I don't say that what our people have gone through was good, but we did get a lot of good things. We got we said, you just said it, Marcus J. We got Obama. Nobody thought. And, you know, we got another person sitting here that I can't call her out, but would sit there and say, did you ever believe? My mother said she never believed we would see a black president. She didn't think she would see it.
My mama said that, too.
She did?
Yeah, I mean, you know, George Bush messed up the world so bad that he set the climate for us to have a black president in the United States. And it's crazy because if you look at, you know, our standing in the world, and if you look at the polls, I mean, the Republicans and the conservatives will have you believe that he's the worst person in the world. But worldwide polls, you know, say that they wish that they can vote this man in for a third term. So that's, you know, I guess that kind of is what it is. As far as the clip, I mean, I guess I've already kind of said what I think on it in the last piece. You know, I just, like Joe said, I don't sugarcoat that kind of stuff from my child. I mean, when Straight Outta Compton came out, I was 14. My daughter would be 13 in a month. So, you know, would I look like hiding that from her? You know, I own the tape. You know, back then it was the tape. You know, I had
cassette.
You know, the cassette. Yeah, I had it. You know what I mean? And so, you know, there's certain songs that I won't let her hear because they may have like explicit sexual vulgarities and things like that. But if we just talking about straight cursing, I mean, I typically don't shield that from her because, you know, Moms J and Pops J, you know, they probably didn't know I was listening to that kind of stuff, but the reality is I was. And so I would much prefer her to be, you know, experiencing. And see, that episode that we just listened to, we watched it, me and her watched it. She's seen it. I saw it. You know, and Anthony Anderson, let me just say this about that character in that show. You know, we talked about that as well when that show started. And, you know, people had issues with the name Blackish. And so they didn't want to throw dirt on the show. But that's a great show. That show might be one of the best well-written shows. It's funny. It's topical. It hits issues. That show's a great show. And I identify, just me, Marcus J., very, very personally with the Andre character, Anthony Anderson's character, because he was someone that grew up in the hood, but he wasn't hood. He grew up in the hood, but he wasn't hood. And he moved to an area where he felt like he wanted to provide a better life for his family. Like, who amongst us can't relate to that? But then when you look at the television show that he was watching about that person having issues with the police, he's absolutely outraged because he realizes how easily that could have been him. And he don't and he doesn't want that to happen to his children. His lady wasn't as passionate about that, and he couldn't understand why.
Because she didn't grow up
like he did.
Exactly.
Like you did. So I'm saying, so do you identify with Rainbow? Let's talk about it.
With her?
Yeah.
No, I don't identify with her. Yeah, I grew up in the suburbs, but I didn't grow up, like that. There was no shielding. Not that my parents talked to me about that stuff, but it was apparent. It was everywhere during that time frame. So me taking it upon myself to be a little bit more socially active, I knew what the deal was. Like I said, I saw it every day. Damn, we saw it at school, unfortunately. I went to a predominantly white school. So, it was very obvious. It was very obvious. But I can't shield my kids from that now. It's just too much. Anything could happen. I need them to understand, well, maybe not understand why it's happening, but know this is probably why it's happening. So try to act accordingly, but try to act accordingly as far as don't put yourself, try not to get in a situation where, like I said, I may have to identify your body. That's all I'm saying. If you get arrested, if the police detain you, there's nothing wrong with questioning them, but you don't have to, I don't want them to get all up in arms and give the officer a reason to beat them down.
Like, what reason would that be?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. But that's what I'm saying. If I'm not trying to sound like her. And like I said, I need them to know this could happen to you. If you can do something or not do something to aggravate them, please try not to.
I understand what you're saying. I think where I will disagree, and I think, others may, is they're really, you could do everything right.
You're right.
You could do everything right, and I tell this story from time to time when the subject comes up about in February of 1990, when I was, I guess I was 15 then, going on 16, and my older brother, my blood brother, and I were on our way to watch the Mike Tyson Buster Douglas fight. That's where we were going. Wow. We were on our way to watch that fight, and that's why I know exactly when it was, February 1990. Anyway, long story short, we were at a stop sign on Communiport Avenue in Jersey City. Actually, it was on Monticello Avenue, Jersey City. And we had a stoplight, and his front tires were on the white line of a stoplight. That's all it took for the police officer to pull us over. They pulled us over because his tires were on the white line at a stoplight. That's why they pulled us over. And they pulled us over. They pulled us out of the car. They went through the car. They searched the car. They searched us. This is me at 15 years old, profiled. So I'm not making this stuff up. This is my personal experience. I won't get into the end of the story just for the interest of time. But what I will say is you can do everything right, and this stuff can still happen to you. And I'll bring it up even further, 25 years later, right here on the property where I have a business. I was profiled here on this property by a neighbor who thought that I didn't belong here. And so when I hear that clip, from Blackish and I hear the clip from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, I get frustrated, and it makes me really sad sometimes because I know I agree with you, Didi. I am one of those people. Pops J did the same thing with me. He told me how to conduct myself and all the things that I should do and all things that I shouldn't do, and don't give them a reason and all those things. We had those conversations because that's part of the talk. Yeah. We've had the talk. And so, I don't know. Miss 3375, we got one more clip, man.
We got one more clip. And this clip really, really, you know, always speak to me. Go back up. Because when Pac talk, sometimes he get revolutionary on me. But I really love this clip right here. Right. And this is exactly how we are today, right, where we need to be today.
One of these days, we gotta bust back for the homies.
You have to be logical. You know, if I know that in this hotel room they have food every day, and I'm knocking on the door every day to eat, and they open the door, let me see the party, let me see like them throwing salami all over just like throwing food around, but they're telling me there's no food in here. You know what I'm saying? Every day. I'm standing outside trying to sing my way in. You know what I'm saying? We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in. After about a week, that song is going to change to we hungry, we need some food. After 2-3 weeks, it's like, you know, give me all the food, and breaking out the door. And after a year, and you just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm picking the lock, coming through the door, blasting, you know what I'm saying? It's like you hungry, you reached your level, you don't want any more. We asked 10 years ago. We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with them, you know, with civil rights movement. We was asking, you know, now those people that were asking, they're all dead and in jail. So now what do you think we're gonna do? Ask? I put my gun away and grab my AK. It's getting hectic. I can't
Anybody.
So he brought up a very good point because, you know, we're all talking about how we try to shield our kids, and, you know, try to teach them and try to show them the world. But I think one of the things that we don't do that's most detrimental to them is we don't teach them how to fight. And I don't mean like physically fight. I mean fight for yourself, for your survival. As a young single mother, I struggled for the first few years. But I always, you know, I didn't want my son to know that, you know, I was missing meals so he could eat. And one day my adopted mother said to me, she said, no, you need to let him see that life is not easy. It's not always great, that you don't get everything that you want. And sometimes you don't have what you need. And I, as a child who grew up literally having to fight because my life wasn't the greatest as a child, but I'm thankful because that has made me the woman that I am. And I don't take mess from nobody, but I am also very deliberate in my life and my actions and my goals and my plans. And I will not let anyone stand in the way of that. We don't teach our children how to fight anymore. Yeah, I agree. I make sure my children know, look, just because you want it doesn't mean you can have it. My son and daughter, night and day. My son, such an old man, but he understands, you know, what I'm going through right now is, you know, just two different households. The difference between being able to get something because he wants it with his dad and me saying, look, I can't get that for you. I just can't. My daughter, it's like, you know, that's what I want. That's what I want. And it should be no question. Oh, money shouldn't be an object. Okay. And I have to have two different conversations with them, which is very aggravating, but she has no concept of, like you said, having to fight for something or having to earn something. She feels like, you know, if I say I want it, I should get it. She's getting to that point now where it's like, oh, me and you going to have a come to Jesus talk real soon. But you're right. We don't teach them. And there's nothing wrong with wanting better for your kids, but I'll be damned if I'm going to go out here and work my ass off for you to have some simple thing, some electronic device, just because your cousin has it. Whatever. Go live with them then. Bye. I'll sign papers. Well, and even just dealing with life's problems, you know, it's like
everything is the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really not. Like, you gotta, go through your crying or your temper tantrum, but then you sit down and you think of a way to overcome it. But they don't do that. Like, everything is just, it's a catastrophe.
Immediate. They need
you
immediate
said
gratification.
Your adopted mom, she told you right.
Yeah.
She told you right. You need to let them know whatever the struggle is, because you grow your appreciation.
Yep.
All right. If we keep giving them everything they want and they don't know what you go through to get the little bit of things that they do have, they're never gonna appreciate a damn thing they get.
Yeah.
So they just you deal with it. If you want it, I'm unable to get it, blah, 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 then hey,
I totally agree with that. I often say, in our parents' generation, they can speak to this even in a more grand way than even I can. But it just seems like in our lifetime, and I think everybody on the panel, we're in our our 40s, our late 40s, and some of us a little older than that. But
I just got here.
Mid.
But but in all seriousness, I think that since we all came of age in the 80s, in the 90s, technology has taken such an astrological leap that I would guess that our parents' generation didn't experience that kind of technology boom. Now, here's what I mean by that. Just something as simple as turning the channel on the television. I know they had remote controls before we were born, but most people didn't have one. You know what I mean? And those folks who did, their remote control was a human. It was a child. Go change the channel for me. If you don't want, if you don't want to watch your favorite show now, you can pull out your computer and watch it tomorrow. You know what I mean? I remember when Mama was a baby, I used to trip because I'd be like, watching something with her, and she would say, "This is 2-3 years old, Daddy, pause the TV, pause the TV." You know what I mean? Pause the TV, Daddy.
She already knew that.
She already knew about the DVR. You could, you know what I mean? And so it has a way of making you lazy, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It makes you lazy. Like I got a brother of mine. I don't know if he's listening. I'm pretty sure he is. I'm not gonna call him out on his story unless he wants to co-sign the story. But he had a social media post asking about allowance for his child, and if how much he should give the child because the child didn't think the child was getting enough allowance. And I was tripping, and I was tripping. I was tripping because I remember those conversations as a kid. I got an allowance, and I got what I was getting and all of that kind of stuff. But the fact that I never debated it. You know what I mean? Like, Pops gave me what Pops gave me, and that was it. And children today, it's a mindset that's just different.
It's entitlement.
It's an entitlement, and I don't fault the father because it's the world that he has to live in. But at the same time, because it's outside forces with your children, no matter how great you are, we have to keep it 100. There's outside forces that work against you. So you got to deal with certain things that our parents didn't and that their parents didn't. But at the end of the day, you get what I'm giving you. You get what I feel that you get. And if you don't like it, then maybe you shouldn't get anything.
You know what you got? Allowance? Your allowance was that you had a bed to sleep in.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That you could open up a refrigerator and get food out of it. The air conditioning worked. You have cable television. That's some extra.
That is their my children's current allowance right now. Now, I feel bad sometimes. Like, damn, I don't give them nothing. No.
Life.
Because you feel bad. You want to give to them.
No, I don't. I don't even like them.
No, you want to give to them. You want them to have. You want them to have fun. You want them to have all the necessities. You want them to have all the junk. I don't. But they can't have it.
I have. Let me just say for the record, I have no problem with the brother who I just cited. I have no problem with him at all. Simply because he's got to navigate into today's world. It's not the same as it was when we were coming up. So he's got to navigate into today's world,
Is he a younger father? I'm just curious.
No. He's in our age group.
Okay.
He's in our age group. And, if your child brings something to you, you got to address it.
Well, I'm just asking, did he pull a Carlton? Because, what we spoke about earlier, was he in that entitlement age? He was,
no.
Well, I just want to preface that because...
This is someone who grew up like we grew up.
Okay, all right.
You grew up like we grew up, and, the reason why I respect his position is because when that time comes for me to deal with that kind of question with Mama J, I'm going to have to deal with it in today's world, and it's not as easy as pulling a, well, I'm the daddy, do what I say kind of deal, simply because, you got outside forces that you got to deal with,
but
that are different than they were when we were coming up.
Well, I will tell you, one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn was nobody owes you anything.
Yes,
say it again.
Absolutely.
And nobody owes you anything.
Church.
Yes.
And I explained to my son, which he has never questioned, but I tell him, I am bound by the law to provide you food, clothing, and shelter.
I've said that too.
But outside of that, I don't have to do anything else.
Yes. I've said
so,
that.
yeah. And I mean, and like I said, he doesn't push back because he knows I'll choke you. But
exactly.
I think, I learned that, as a 21-year-old, it was like, all the things I went through as a young teenage girl. And, now I'm trying to do certain things with my life and nobody's helping me. How come nobody's helping me?
Yeah.
And then you realize they don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to. And if you want it, you have to go get it yourself.
I got you. I agree.
A lot of times, like you said, you have to get it yourself. A lot of parents make, and we go back to Carlton again, they make the misconception that you have to shield your children and give them everything you did not have because you feel guilty about what your parents didn't do for you. And that's you mad at your parents, but they did the best they could do. Mm-hmm. I really, really have an issue when I see young people sitting out there. It's funny. My little man, he looked at me one day because we were in the store together. We were in the store. And he's walking side by side to me. And he sees this kid sit there and lose his mind and fall out in the floor. He looks up at me and said, Daddy, he acting like a fool. You would whoop me silly.
Let me tell you. My mother would, if wherever you act out, that's where you get it. Ain't gonna wait till we get home. If something happened when we get home, it's because she remembered, and you gonna get it again.
That's the one thing that I'll be honest with you. I never, ever, ever had to deal with that ever, because I've been very clear from the time when my child was born. I'll fight a kid.
I will too.
I'll fight a kid. I'll knock a kid cold out. And I've never been governed like Tony, like you said, I'm bound by law to take care of you. Like, one thing that I've never been governed by is the law when it comes to disciplining my child. I'll knock a kid cold out.
Yeah, my mother used to say,
for real.
I'll call him up and you can stand outside butt naked.
For real, because
the way you came here.
The reason why I take that stance, I don't have a boy. I have a whole different set of challenges with a girl, but I would prefer to discipline my child at home than have the system discipline them in the penitentiary.
In the system, exactly.
In the system. So,
and those are always options. Yep. I'm like, you can either do what I tell you to do, or you do what you want to do, and I let the people come get you.
I mean, I remember going to Scared Straight. I mean, it wasn't like how you see Beyond Scared Straight on the show, but we went through the prisons. We went through the male prison, and we went through, not the jail, we went through the prisons. And we went and we saw this is what could happen to you if you act a damn fool. Yep. And I chose not to act a damn fool. And no child under my purview is going to act a damn fool. Ain't no how Steppin Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to take another break, man. The Shan Pippa Room has got us going and whatnot. But when we come back, we're going to finish up the show with that, what the hell, abbreviated